All sorts of people came into the office of the News Weekly, and Orson Brown had all sorts of relation with them. Outside of the office hours, he was one of the editors. During work time, he was simply a curly-haired man who a year before had edited the Dartmouth Jack-O-Lantern. He had seen this visitor go into the editor office, a pale, tall man of 40 with blonde, stats-queue hair, and a manner that was neither shy or timid, nor otherworldly like a monk, but something of all three. The name on his card, Louis Trimble, evoked some vague memory, but having nothing to start on, Orson did not puzzle over it until a buzzer sound on his desk, and previously experience warned him that Miss Trimble was to be his first course at lunch. Mr. Trimble, Mr. Brown, said the sort of all luncheon money. Orson, Mr. Trimble, has been away for a long time, or he feels is a long time. Almost 12 years, some people would consider themselves lucky to have missed the last decade. That's so, said Orson. I can't lunch today, continued his chief. Take him to Voisin or 21 or anywhere he'd like to. Mr. Trimble feels like there are lots of things he hasn't seen.
Trimble demurred politely. Oh, I can get along. I know it, old boy. Nobody knows this place like you this one. And if Val try to explain the horseless carriage, just send him back here to me. And you will be back yourself by 4, won't you? Orson got his hat. You have been away 10 years. He asked why they went down in the elevator. They would begin the Empire State Building, said Trimble. What does that add up to? About 1928. But as the chief said, you have been lucky to miss a lot. As a filler, he added, probably have more interesting things to look at. Can't say I have. They reached the street and the way Timble's face tightened at the row of traffic. Make Orson take one more guess. You have been out of civilization? In a sense, this is the famous 21, he said. Do you think you have lettered it somewhere else?
Trimble paused, looking carefully at the brownstone house. I can't remember when the name 21 got to be famous, he said. About the same years as Moriarty. I thought we might walk up Fifth Avenue about 5 minutes and eat wherever we happen to be. Some place with young people to look at. The only definite clue to his environment and to Orson the clue that led nowhere was his countryman's obedience to the traffic lights and his predilection for walking on the side next to the shops and not the street. Once he stopped and gazed into a haberdasher's window. Creepy ties, he said. I haven't seen one since I left college. Where'd you go? Massachusetts Tech. Great place. I'm going to take a look at it next week. Let's see somewhere along here. They were in the upper 50s. You choose.
There was a good restaurant with a little awning just around the corner. What do you want to see most? Orson asked as they sat down. Trimble considered. Well, the back of people's heads, he suggests. Their necks, how their heads are joined to their bodies. I'd like to hear what those 2 little girls are saying to their father. Not exactly what they're saying, but whether the word float or submerged. How their mouths shut when they finish speaking. Just a matter of rhythm. Orson was sure he had his clue now, and what nice delicacy did not pursue it by a millimeter. Even suppressing a sudden desire to say there was a fine concert in Carnegie Hall tonight. The cast in that waiter's eye. I knew him once, but he wouldn't remember me. But as they left the restaurant, the same waiter looked at Trimble rather puzzled, as if he almost knew him. After 10 years, people will forget? Oh, I had dinner there last May. He broke off in an abrupt manner.
It was all kind of nasty, Orson decided, and changed himself suddenly into a guide. From here, you get a good candidate focus on Rockefeller Center. He pointed out with spirit at the Chrysler Building and the Armistead Building, the daddy of all the new ones. The Army State Building. Trimble rubbernecked obediently. Yes, I decided it. Orison shook his head cheerfully. He was used to going out with all kinds of people. But that stuff about having been in the restaurant last May. He paused by the best entablature in the cornerstone of the building, erected 1928. He said. Trimble nodded, but I was taken down that year. Every which way down, so I never saw it before now. Would you mind shaking hands with me? Not at all, sir. Thanks. That's very kind. I suppose it looks strange, but people will think we are saying goodbye. I'm going to walk up the avenue for a while, so we will say goodbye. Tell your office I will be in at 4. Jesus, he said to himself, drunk for 10 years. He felt suddenly of the texture of his own coat, and then he reached out and pressed his thumb against the granite of the building by his side.
Okay, so let's summarize and analyze. I think the writer was trying to explain how people act in 1939. Mr. Trumbull was drunk, and the story told us that he just woke up from being drunk. So, he tried to figure out what happened to his community. I think the writer was trying to imply Mr. Trumbull to a normal people in any community, because people just live in their community, but they don't really know what happened in their community. They just live in it. They don't know what it looks like sometimes. They just, wake up, go to work, back to their home and sleep. And Orison is an example of normal people who try to realize what he should do or he should act. In the last sentence, the writer said that he felt suddenly the texture of his own coat, and then he reached out and pressed his thumb against the granite of the building by his side. So what this sentence trying to explain that Mr. Orison was trying to feel himself, trying to feel things around them. I think this is what the writer trying to imply. I think, just in my opinion anyway.